Every single day, millions of Africans hop onto a motorcycle to get to work, deliver food, or move goods across the city. It's the engine of African urban life. But that engine is changing. Quietly and faster than most people realize, the continent is undergoing one of the biggest transport revolutions of our generation. This is the rise of electric mobility in Africa. And it's not coming from the West. It's being built right here. Here's something most people don't know. Africa isn't just adopting electric vehicles. In many ways, it's leading the world in how EVs are actually being deployed. And the reason comes down to one thing: economics. Take a typical boda rider in Nairobi or Kampala. They're on the road 10 to 12 hours a day, covering up to 200 kilometers, burning through fuel and barely breaking even by sundown. Fuel costs eat their profits. Maintenance drains the rest. Electric motorcycles change the math completely. According to data from EV startup Spiro, their electric bikes cost around $800, roughly 40% less upfront than a new petrol motorcycle. And the cost per kilometer? About 30% cheaper than fueling up. For a commercial rider, that's not a small upgrade. That's financial freedom. But there's a problem with electric vehicles that has slowed adoption everywhere else in the world: charging time. If you're a delivery rider, you can't afford to sit and wait 4 hours for your bike to charge. Every minute off the road is money lost. Africa's answer? Battery swapping. Instead of plugging in and waiting, riders simply pull up to a swap station, slide out their depleted battery, slot in a fully charged one, and they're back on the road in under 5 minutes. It's the same concept as swapping a gas canister, but for the electric age. And Africa is building this infrastructure at scale right now. Spiro, one of the continent's biggest e-mobility players, has already built a network of 2,500 battery swap stations. And they're expanding. In early 2026, they secured a $50 million debt facility to grow that network even further. Ampersand, based in Kigali, Rwanda, has a fleet of over 5,000 electric motorcycles that have already covered more than 280 million kilometers combined. They're targeting 13,000 motorcycles by the end of 2026 and over 40,000 in total deployment across East Africa. These aren't pilot projects. This is infrastructure. So who's building this future? Kenya alone hosts over 50 e-mobility startups, making it the undisputed hub of Africa's electric transport revolution. Names like Roam, Ampersand Kenya, Kiri EV, Stima, and Fika Mobility are all operating in this space. In Uganda, GoGo Electric is actually manufacturing electric motorcycles and lithium-ion batteries locally in Kampala, targeting the boda sector directly. In Nigeria, Move is deploying EV ride-hailing fleets. In Kenya, Basigo has put 100 electric buses on the road, serving thousands of commuters daily, and the funding is following the momentum. In early 2026 alone, African e-mobility startups raised over $75 million, signaling that global investors now see this not as a charity project, but as a serious, scalable business. The biggest single bet? Spiro's landmark $100 million raise in October 2025, the largest investment ever made in Africa's two-wheeled e-mobility sector. What makes this revolution sustainable is that governments across the continent are now backing it with real policy. Ethiopia made history by becoming the first country in the world to ban the import of internal combustion engine vehicles in 2024. Let that sink in. Not a target. Not a roadmap, a ban. Rwanda banned new petrol motorcycles in Kigali in 2025 and targets 30% electric motorcycle penetration by 2030. They've also removed import duties on EVs entirely. Kenya's National E-Mobility Policy, launched in 2024, sets a target of 100,000 electric motorcycles, and Kenya Power is planning over 400 charging and swapping stations by 2027. South Africa introduced a 150% tax deduction on investments in EV production assets. Morocco has committed $15 billion in EV and battery investments. Across the continent, 13 countries have now published national e-mobility strategies. The policy framework is being built, the infrastructure is being laid, and the market is responding. Here's the bigger picture. Up to 80% of urban trips across African cities happen via shared taxis or moto-taxis. That's not a niche market. That's the entire transport backbone of the continent. Electrifying that backbone doesn't just reduce emissions. It puts more money in the pockets of millions of riders. It reduces Africa's dependency on imported fuel. It opens up local manufacturing, and it positions the continent as a global leader in the next generation of urban mobility. According to the Africa E-Mobility Alliance, there are now 208 active e-mobility companies operating across the continent, from East Africa to North Africa to West Africa. The ecosystem is maturing. The capital is flowing. The governments are aligned. Africa isn't playing catch-up in the EV revolution. Africa is writing its own chapter. Electric mobility is one piece of a much larger puzzle. The transformation of how Africa moves, lives, and builds for the future. And here at Zentro 360, we're going to keep breaking it all down for you. If this video gave you a new way of looking at Africa's future, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we're just getting started. I'll see you in the next one.